Which NHL Western Conference team improved the most during the offseason this year? Alongside Sam Nessler and Craig Ludwig, we are the DLLS Stars Podcast. Let's talk about this. Luds, we'll begin with you. Is there a team? I know it's the dog days of the NHL offseason right now, so we're kind of digging for some material. And this is part of that, is grading who did well with free agency, with keeping their own players, maybe making a trade. Who stands out the most in the West as far as teams that you think have gotten better since the end of this last season?
Well, I think like a trade, you typically go who got the best player, and generally that's who ends up being on the right end of the stick. And so I think Vegas. I mean, anybody that can add a Mitch Marner, especially for the regular season, if Mitch follows up what he does in the postseason, I guess it doesn't really matter. But I'd look at at him and Eichel. I don't know if they're going to play together, whatever. But I just think anytime you can add a 90 to 100 point guy. But again, it's also at the expense of losing Pietrangelo, who's going to be injured and out, and Nicholas Roy, whatever you want to say. Haig, they lost some bite to their team, I think. So I don't think that means that they want to change the identity, how they go about things. But I think with Marner there, you've seen that team can be electric at times. I think they've got another element to their game, which probably goes for the reason you would go after a Marner, because he probably doesn't get enough credit for what he does coming back through the neutral zone and in the defensive zone. He's a very responsible player. And I think he may even be a better player because now he's going to be out from underneath that spotlight and just probably be able to breathe and just play. And when he walks out the doors and in Vegas, not everybody's going to be all over him and know who he is like he was. And, and again, I think for any player that plays in a fishbowl, and it could be, New York, and could be Vegas, it could be Montreal, it's difficult at times, especially when he's got a track record of not being the best playoff guy. And that's what he's known for around that city, unfortunately. So I just think that maybe there's a bit of a piano that's been lifted off his back when he gets there and he can play a little bit freer. We may see him go above 100 points this year.
Luds, how much does Nick Hague leaving hurt that back end? Because that's their identity, right? Big, strong, solid, simple defending.
Along with Pietrangelo, the two of them together, that's a big hole.
Well, it's a huge hole. I mean, I just think that from a heaviness, we talk about having that kind of a back end and having a player or two like that. Now that you can fit, Pietrangelo in there if he was healthy, even at his, the number that he has. But I think that you're missing some of the identity of that team. And again, if you're taking out an element that makes them difficult to play against, and you're taking and putting in an element that definitely can help you at one end of the rink, but when it comes to a physicality and setting a tone and being able to step in for players and things like that, you're going to miss that. Now, Lauzon is a tough guy. I mean, I think he's there, right? Nick Lauzon is there. So maybe that's what they're trying to do, is they're trying to bring a little bit of that back. And sometimes if you've got that kind of guy that wants to play like that, it can be more impactful as a forward versus a defenseman, because on your forecheck and neutral zone, you get better opportunities to finish your checks. Finish your checks.
No way.
That wasn't even by design.
That was on purpose. I can tell by his
Elijah, you're gonna have to mark that for a drop, because now we have another finish your chicks drop. Amazing. I love it.
Well, maybe Lauzon can finish his chicks. I don't know.
It is Vegas after all.
So,
all right.
Anyway, so there you go. There's that segment.
Let's move to the one I want to pick, which is the Anaheim Ducks. To me, Luds, actually, it's even before the player acquisitions. It starts with the head coach, right? Getting a Stanley Cup champion head coach makes a huge difference. Now, I know there's some off the ice issues that we have to sort of go back through, but as we go forward here, I just think that when you have a guy like that, it makes a huge difference. And then in addition to that, they did some really smart ads, right? Go back to last year with Jacob Trouba, getting him in the fold. Your buddy Pat Verbeek, the GM, of course, had a plan. Then he gets Chris Kreider from the Rangers, so he added some of the Rangers veterans. He was able to sign Mikael Granlund as a free agent. The Stars wanted him back. They just couldn't fit him money-wise. And they were able to trade away John Gibson, get some return out of the conference, still bring in Petr Mrazek, and extend Lucas Dostal. It sure feels like with Joel Quenneville behind the bench and then all those ads, that the Ducks are making a good push to try to be a playoff team this year.
Well, the first thing I would say as a player, and you got Hugh coming in there behind the bench, when he talks, everybody listens, right? It's not E.F. Hutton, but it's the same kind of thing in the NHL. So I think you grab people's attention. They probably believe that looking just from the general manager down, if you're a player that's been there for any length of time, you're going, now we've got a chance to win. They believe that we have a chance to win. We need to believe that we have a chance to win. You're bringing in a Stanley Cup coach, and the players. I really think that Chris Kreider is going to make a difference there. The way that he wants to go ahead and play at the front of the net and be that kind of guy. Not only does it improve 5-on-5, but it's going to improve their power play, obviously. And, I think they got that guy that we're a little bit familiar with there in Dallas that's there. And you know what he can do. And I think he shores up whatever line Granlund's going to play on. He kind of shores that position, that group of three, whatever it's going to be. You know what you're getting with that player too. So there's no question that Anaheim has basically said, we're here to compete for a playoff spot.
Who's your team?
Well, Vegas was the first one that came to mind for me, but I'm going to go with a similar team to what you said in a different kind of realm, which is the San Jose Sharks. I preface this by saying they're probably a step behind Anaheim, if not a couple steps behind.
Yeah.
But they're a team that also needs to show that they can improve. They need to prove to Celebrini that the future is there. Will Smith, all these young players. So for them, the key there was bringing in, Dmitry Orlov, Kurashev, Adam Gaudette, Jeff Skinner, John Klingberg, Nick Leddy, and then Nedeljkovic in the goal. It just, they have that goalie depth we talked about, I think, on last week's show where they can
I love the Askarov addition last year.
Maybe move one out if they needed to. But the key there is that they gave themselves, they have their future number one center, they believe, maybe even their top two. They now have a top two defenseman in Dmitry Orlov. They added those key pieces to take that next step, right? And I think Klingberg and Leddy are both, offensive guys. Jeff Skinner, we saw, took a big step, finally got to the playoffs. Now he's going to probably not get to the playoffs for a little while here. But it just feels like they took that step to get them a little more sound in the areas that are important. We talked about protecting Celebrini and those guys, but they also need to see a big win here and there. They need to see a power play get hot and go running with Klingberg or someone running the power play. So I think for them, that's the next step. The problem is it's going to be really tough for this team because they're still 2 or 3 steps back from where they want to be. It's just part of the rebuild situation for them. But I think these key pieces, as well as a couple of veterans that have been around, should help them get there.
Lads, there's no doubt that Celebrini, Will Smith, William Eklund are good young players, and they're going to be the core going forward. But it does feel like, as Sam said, that they're still maybe a couple seasons behind them really taking the reins there.
For me, the only player of significance is Orlov. For me, I think I don't know if there's enough parts right there. I don't know if they've changed their identity, if they've tried to change their identity. They had an opportunity to bring in a bunch of players, and I think maybe a guy like Skinner, he might have a good year because there's not a lot of pressure on him. He's proved that he can be a 20, 25, 30 goal scorer, whatever. So maybe that guy can step up a little bit. But I still, as Sam said, you both said, they're a ways away yet.
Just remember, Nashville Predators won the offseason last year, consensus-wise, and then had a wretched season. So winning the offseason doesn't necessarily mean anything. What do you guys think? Who in the West had the best summer as far as getting ready for the 25-26 NHL season?
We all silly like the mayor.